All right, so check it out. Doing a response to Dream Chase Boxing video titled "The Truth Behind Boring Fighters," and it is part one. So he's going to do a series on it. I just want to go ahead and just kind of give my take on this. So here's the thing. Right, number one, if you're not subscribed to Dream Chasing Boxing, go ahead and subscribe. Great channel. But here, look, check this out. This is not a direct response to anything he said specifically. I'm just taking the topic and doing my own video about it, basically. But it is a response. So check it out. I honestly believe, since this is how you know the sport is not doing very well, right? This is how you know. Most people, most boxing fans, let me specify, that watch boxing, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, right, watch it in the lens of a someone who's watching boxing for the first time. Like whatever they watch, whatever fight they're going to watch, whatever fighter's on TV, they want it to be the type of fight or the type of fighter that they believe is going to attract great new fans, because they know the sport's not doing well and they want more fans to be attracted to the sport, right? And I honestly believe, and I think this is part of the problem, a lot of fans think this way. Instead of just watching the fight, like you can never have a controversy in boxing. You can never have a fight in boxing without boxing fans just randomly, after the fight, bringing up, this is why nobody watches the sport. What a terrible decision. Nobody watches the sport. What a boring fight. This is why nobody watches the sport. All the while ignoring the very fact that there is no such thing as a person who gives up on an entire sport because one fight did not entertain them or because they didn't like one fighter. That person does not exist. The problems boxing has a lot to do with the fact that people don't feel invested in the sport, right? They're not, it's too complicated. There's way too many titles. They don't really understand the sport. That's the main problem. Or they give up on the sport due to years of just fights not happening or not happening at the right time. The idea that, you know, it has the perception that the best do not fight the best. That's the reason, number one reason, why people either leave the sport or just refuse not to follow it. That's it. It has nothing to do with this one fight. So I think that lens that people watch the sport with, like they believe, like if two fighters get in the ring and have the match of the night, I mean, not the night, the year, the fight of the year on HBO, they think droves of boxing fans are just going to turn into boxing fans, you know, and they're never going to go away. That just doesn't happen. You know, I'm not, you know, anecdotally it could happen here and there, but that's not the way you create a fan base. And you know what's funny? No other fans of any other sport watch their sport that way. Nobody sits down and watches a football game and thinks to themselves like, oh, come on, be exciting. Be an exciting game, please. I want my friends to like football. Like, they don't do that. They just watch the game. If the score is 9-7 at the end, and there wasn't a lot of scoring going on, or 6-7, let's say, 6-7. If the team won, they're happy and they move on, right? It's that simple. It's literally, it's the same in every other sport, just not boxing. But let's talk about this entertaining thing, because it is subjective. You know how many times I've heard people tell me, no, you don't think, you don't like watching that fighter. You're lying. You're a liar. You know, you don't like watching that fighter. Oh, yeah, I do. I like watching Rigondeaux. I enjoy watching Rigondeaux fight. No, you don't. You're fucking lying. Like, well, why would I lie? Have you guys ever asked yourself, why would I just lie? Why would I pretend to like watching somebody? Why the fuck would I do that? Why would many boxing fans just randomly do that? Look, I'm not asking people to like him too. I'm just telling you I like watching him fight. That's all I'm saying. Right? That's all I'm saying. And this idea, like, I thought it was brilliant what he was doing to Nonito Donaire, who was on fire before that fight. It was brilliant. It was just brilliant boxing. Right? And there was a dramatic moment when he was knocked down, but he got back up. You know, I enjoyed that fight. No, but you're lying. No, you didn't. You were bored. Like, again, this arrogance of these fans that just tell me what I should like. I'm not telling you what he should like. I'm not insecure about what I like. I'm just flat out telling you I like that fight. It doesn't take a genius to like understand that concept. I don't need another grown man telling me what I like. That's not the way it works. Just because you don't like it, right? It's a lot of it is insecurity. It's just fans that believe they try to put themselves in the lens of a person that does not understand boxing and just wants these Rocky movie-like fights. That's how they kind of picture things. And, you know, they just, if it's not something around that or something close to that, it's not exciting. Therefore, I don't like it. They know this is true, right? They know it is. And there's also no consistency. Well, why didn't Frampton or Quigg fight Ringendow? Well, what's the same excuse I used that I heard? Either A, Ringendow brought nothing to the table, even though he brought legitimacy to the table. They never proved they were the best in the division, ever. They never proved it. Last I checked, since its inception, tradition in boxing has always been proving you're the best. That's the whole point. They have a division and they have a world champion in that division. That's the way it's always been. The whole point was to prove you're the best. Right? When they invented boxing, they didn't invent it to prove who's more entertaining. They invented it to prove who's the best. That's it. You know, plus, and we also heard, well, Ringendow's boring. That's why we can't get that fight. Well, how'd that fight turn out when they fought each other? I wasn't very entertained by that fight. I didn't think it was a particularly good fight. You didn't get shit out of it anyway. Right? They got shit out of it. A lot of these fighters, okay, that nobody's saying that you need to like every type of style or anything like that. Everyone's going to have their preference. It's just the way it is, right? Everyone is. But when you're talking at another level, like whenever Canelo Alvarez retires, when that day comes, and and he's going to go into the Hall of, let's just argument's sake say, does this guy belong in the Hall of Fame? I guarantee you his victory over Erislandy Lara is going to hold weight. It's going to hold more weight than his victories over Angulo or Kirkland. It is. All right? That's going to help him. You know, it helps his resume. So we have all types of fighters in boxing. Right? You can have fighters that fight the way you like. You know, the action, quote unquote, action packed and come forward, little defense and all that. And we need those type of fighters. I'm not saying get rid of those fighters. No, stick around and fight the way you fight. We need those type of fighters. But we also need defensive fighters. We need different types of fighters. If every fighter fought the same, there'll be nothing diverse about the sport. Nothing. We cannot have every single fighter fight the same way. Okay, you want different styles. You want variety. That's what you want. Now let's talk about entertainment. I don't really believe most people understand what entertainment is, right? Because there's situational entertainment, all right, that can become obsolete once the fight is over. So what I mean by that is, take the Kovalev versus Ward fight, especially after the knockdown. Sure, now that the fight's over, you don't feel the drama anymore, but you knew that if Kovalev landed a clean right hand again, he could drop, maybe even knock out Ward, right? That was drama that you felt during the fight. Of course, if you go back and you watch the replay, you already know the result of the fight, so that you don't feel that drama anymore. That drama's gone, right? But these types of emotions that play in a live fight, in a competitive fight, where without Monday morning quarterbacking, watching it live, not knowing what the future holds, presents all types of emotions, and that's fun to watch. It's a fun thing to see. I've seen many fights where, like, take the defensive fighters, right? The guys that are hard to hit. Do they frustrate a lot of fans, especially if they don't like that fighter? Of course, right? But what they're doing is that they're invoking emotion in you. That's why you keep watching their fights, right? That's why you kept watching Mayweather fight. So there was an emotion there. While you were watching that fight, every single time their opponent got them against the ropes, all right, any single time it looked like they were in any type of danger, you were hoping. Your heart was beating fast, and you were hoping they caught him with a clean shot and knocked him out. And you just know when Nonito Donaire knocked down Rigondeaux, as much as Rigondeaux was frustrating you throughout the fight because he was so hard to hit, when Nonito Donaire finally caught him, didn't finish him, but he caught him, your emotions were running high. It felt good when you finally knocked him down. And there's nothing wrong with that if you just admit it. You just don't like the fact that your guy couldn't finish it. That's all. If he would have finished it, you would have been jumping up and down in your living room, been the happiest person on earth. So there's nothing wrong with not liking defensive fighters. And I've said that for a long time. But don't act like they don't invoke emotion in you. Don't act like when they finally do get hit. But let me tell you something. When a defensive fighter gets hit, that is an accomplishment, right, by the aggressive fighter, right? The guy who hits a defensive fighter clean, people remember those moments. So people, like, you could Monday morning quarterback Shane Mosley versus Floyd, right? You could Monday morning quarterback it. But I bet you anything, anyone who watched that fight, you remember where you were, who was with you, and how people reacted when Mosley clocked them clean about 2 or 3 times in that second round, and Floyd looked hurt. You remember where you were. You remember how that moment felt. Because you didn't know what was going to happen for about a whole minute there. Is this it? Is he going to knock him out? You see, those types of emotions exist when it comes to entertainment. It's called drama, and boxing brings that. When a defensive fighter finally gets hit, when a guy that rarely gets hit finally gets knocked out, it's a memorable moment. Right? It's not memorable when a guy that's already been knocked out 10 times gets knocked out. Even if all his fights are action-packed, it's not memorable. When Floyd, made Arturo Cotty, when he retired him in the stool, it wasn't a memorable moment. It was what it was. It was expected. When Roy Jones was knocked out by Tarver, that was a memorable moment. It was special because you never seen that before. This guy rarely even lost a round. Now he was losing a whole fight and he got knocked out. You never seen something like that before. It was special, right? And there's all types of things. Sometimes they feel like letdowns, but whenever there's a big fight, like I'm talking a big fight, and it's competitive, and it's a 50-50 fight, and that bell rings, that feeling you get, like those, butterflies in your stomach when the bell rings. I mean, you could Monday morning quarterback it. If you don't get the result you want and the fight's over, it is what it is. But those emotions were there. They existed. Right? So I don't think a lot of people understand what entertainment really is. I think they believe entertainment is two guys just trading shots till one goes down or something. I don't know. That's not the way boxers train in the gym, right? You won't go to a boxing gym and they just train trading shots. And so that's not the way it works. That's not the way the sport works. It never has been that way. Okay, these are things that you've been programmed to believe, right? That's it. Is that cool? Capiche? Right? So, to summarize this, number one, don't tell people what they find exciting or don't find exciting. Right? Be honest about what you like or don't like. If you don't like a certain style, that's fine, but don't tell the next man what he likes or doesn't like. Just, don't do it. We can go a long way in educating. The more people understand the sport, the more they will appreciate it. And I don't believe, especially not HBO, they don't do a good enough job of educating the masses on what's happening in the ring. They don't. They're concentrating on, trying to create drama with their voices instead of letting the fight itself create the drama. That's my opinion. Right? But with that said, this is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing.